London, the capital of Great Britain, is one of the largest cities in the world, with over 12 million people. There are people here of every race, religion, and nationality. Over 2 million people travel into London to work every day. They travel by car, by bus, by underground, or by train. This is Charing Cross Station, one of London's 15 railway stations. The high tower in the background is the Post Office Tower, London's highest building. The River Thames flows through the capital. Up to 1750 there was only one bridge over the river. Now there are about 20. During the Second World War, London was badly bombed. Today, there are hardly any signs of what happened then. New, high-rise blocks have been built on the bomb sites. One of the main shopping streets is Oxford Street. Every day, thousands of people come here to shop. They come by taxi, by bus, or by underground. London's underground system is the oldest and the largest in the world. You can get almost everywhere in London by underground. There are over 270 stations. Going by underground is the quickest way of getting about London. 2 million people use the underground daily to get to and from work. The worst part of the rush hour is between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning, and between 4:30 and 6:30 in the evening. We've come by underground to the City, the part of London where the offices, banks, and shipping companies are, where thousands of people work, but not many live. Lord Nelson, the Admiral, one of Britain's national heroes, stood among the smoke and noise from the ship's guns at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. Today, he stands among the noise and fumes of the heavy London traffic as it roars round Trafalgar Square. But only a stone's throw away from all this noise, right in the centre of London, you will find Hyde Park, one of the large London parks where people can get away from the noise and the traffic. Or perhaps go for a picnic like these nursery school children with their teachers.
I'm so happy, why? Because Jesus saved my soul. Oh, Jesus saved my soul. And again. Oh.
The parks, the lungs of London, are important to the Londoners, and the Thames is important to Britain. On the river, there are always lots of boats, large and small. All the way from the river estuary to this bridge, Tower Bridge, the river is lined with docks. And into the port of London come goods from all over the world. About half of the food eaten in Britain and nearly all the raw material used by British industry has to be imported. Cargo boats are getting bigger and bigger. Several of the new boats are so large that they can't get all the way up the river to central London. Some docks have had to be closed and new ones built further out in the Thames estuary. Britain exports mainly machines, cars, aeroplanes and metal goods. The docks are large, and much of the work is done with the help of machines. Large quantities of timber are imported. There are hardly any forests in Britain. The timber comes mainly from Canada and Scandinavia. A lot of the heavy work, which once needed several men, has now been taken over by special machines. This machine, controlled by Dave completely on his own, has taken over the work of 12 men. With so many machines and so much noise during their daily work, it's important for the men to have somewhere where they can go and relax in peace and quiet. Where Dave works, there is a canteen, showers and changing rooms. Dave's shift is over for today, and he relaxes a while before going home. He's 32. He started work on the docks when he was 21. During his 11 years at the job, he has seen many changes for the better. Formerly, he was on piecework. That meant that he had to work as fast as he could to get as much money as he could, and even so, he didn't earn much. Now he gets a guaranteed monthly wage and 4 weeks holiday a year. Dave uses the car to get to and from work. He used to go by underground and bus, but a year ago he moved to a suburb of London where there is no underground. So he takes the car now so as not to spend too much time travelling each day. This is the suburb where Dave lives, and this is Dave's house. It wasn't an expensive house, but he had to save his money for several years in order to be able to buy it, and it was in a pretty bad condition. He and his wife have repaired and cleaned it up themselves. Dave is a foreman, so he is well paid. For many dockers, buying a house of one's own is completely out of the question.
What did you do at school today? You've been swimming too.
What did you have for dinner?
Salads.
Did you, Laurie?
Pie.
Oh, where's the salad gone? What did you have?
Salad.
Did you?
Oh, that's,
Did you
that's
see?
a shame.
Dave has been married for 14 years, and he has 3 daughters, aged 12, 8 and 6. His wife normally works at home, and the girls all go to school. They've just come home from school here, and today, as on every other day, the family gets together to talk about what they've been doing during the day.
Right, you can go then.
Trolley.
And what about your fractions? Find out how to do them?
Yes.
Today they're discussing a problem in mathematics that the eldest girl has had trouble with at school.
What I mean is that I couldn't do it, so I was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did it the proper way.
Yes.
No, Mum
What,
was
what
right.
do you mean?
Well, I told you that wasn't the way to do it. Fractions.
Yeah, so what do you do when you've got an odd number over the top?
You divide them.
from one suburb to another. Large numbers of immigrants, most of them from the West Indies, live in this suburb, Brixton. When it began to be difficult for them to get work in their home countries, they came to England to look for jobs. Many of them came several years ago, and they now have children who were born in England, and these children have never seen the West Indies. This market is where the immigrants come to buy the things they want from their home countries. The people who sell the goods are usually English, but the goods they sell have been imported from the West Indies.
And a head of garlic.
Do you like a large one, small one? How's that?
Yeah, that one will
Okay. 6p.
yeah.
Pumpkin, 16 a pound. Yeah, please. That's 15, madam.
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Huh?
No, I think that's all. Yeah.
Oh, 28 pence.
28. No, I think that's
Okay, thank you very much. 28, yeah. 30, 40, 50 and 50. Thank you very much. I've put them all. You've got your time?
yeah. Did I get the time?
Yes, I gave you. Oh, here you are, sorry. Yes.
Right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. Cabbage.
This is a typical suburban London shopping street, rather different from Oxford Street. Doreen King and her children on their way home to their house in Brixton. Doreen King is from Jamaica in the West Indies. Her children were born in England. She has been married, but now she lives alone with the children. Before the children came, she worked in an office, but now she stays at home. She says she wants to spend as much time as possible with the children while they're small. The state helps her nowadays with her money problems and has helped her to get a good place to live.
Come on, Gary.
Before this, she lived in a small, old-fashioned flat. When we asked Doreen King to tell us a bit about herself and her children, where she came from and how long she'd been in England, she told us,
Yes. My name is Doreen King, and I come from Jamaica in the West Indies. I'm 24 years old, and I've been in England for 14 years. I went to school here for 7 of those years, and after school I went to work for a local government office. I was there for 3 years, and then I left to have my first child, Carleen. I went out to work afterwards. Then I left to have Gary.
"And what is a normal day for you and the children?"
A normal day? Well, the children usually wake me up in the morning about 8 o'clock. I make them their breakfast, and then we all have a wash and get dressed. And I usually take them either for a walk in the park, or we usually go down to the shops. And then at 1:30 every day I take them to their play school. While they're at play school, I come back home, do any odd jobs that I've got to do, and make their meal.
"And what do you do in the evenings?"
I usually have friends who come round, we sit down and talk, and that's about it.
"And are your friends English or Jamaican?"
Well, I've got a few English friends, but not many. The majority of my friends are from Jamaica or other West Indian islands, usually. You can have a biscuit if you like.
I'm going to put some of this on it.
You can't put the soup on the biscuit.
But it's like this then.
All right then, go on.
Besök på en fårfarm och vi får också möta Kenny som håller på att utbilda sig för att jobba med oljeborrning i Nordsjön.
Scottish music and the Scottish countryside. Lakes, mountains, forests and heaths, changing colour all the time. Wide open spaces covered with heather and bushes, broken up by forests and the ridges of mountains. The lakes, called the lochs, are many and deep. It's in this loch, Loch Ness, that the famous monster is supposed to hide in the depths beneath the canoes and the sightseeing boats. The mountain ranges of Sweden and Norway continue westwards into Scotland to form the Scottish Highlands. The Scottish countryside is well suited to sheep farming. Most of the time, the sheep wander freely about on the Scottish heaths, but once a year, at the beginning of the summer, the farmers round up their flocks for shearing. When the sheep has been sheared, it is branded. Formerly the brand was burnt into the sheep's flesh, but now a coloured dye is used. Although the shearing looks brutal, it is in fact quite painless. As you can see, the wool is very thick, and Scottish wool is known all over the world. Sheep farming and fishing are two of the oldest industries in Scotland. There are still many towns and villages along the coast where fishing is the most important occupation, as here at Och, for example, a quiet, sleepy little fishing village. When did you last chop your firewood in the middle of the street? A lot of the time you only see women, children and old men in this village. The young men are all out fishing. In the past, fishing was handed on from father to son, but now something is radically changing life in these villages in the north. They have found oil in the North Sea off the Scottish coast.
Oh, well, I wouldn't think so, no.
Kenny is a young Scot who would have been a fisherman if North Sea oil had not been found. His uncle, a fisherman, is worried about the future of the village. What will happen if no one wants to be a fisherman, and if everyone goes into the oil industry instead? But Kenny is optimistic about the future. He's being trained to do a job created by the oil fields in the North Sea. He goes to a training school, but the school isn't in Kenny's village. To get there, he has to travel by bus and by boat every day. The bus takes him to the ferry, and the ferry takes him over to the other side of the fjord where the school is. Kenny must often wonder about the rapid changes that have come upon his little village. The district in which he was born, and where in the past there were very few jobs, is suddenly now changing and developing, and today there are plenty of opportunities of work. On board the ferry that Kenny takes to get to school, there are many men who were once fishermen. They're on their way to work, but their place of work is no longer the open sea. It's a platform wharf, where they're being trained to build oil platforms. The coming of the North Sea oil has meant for many Scots that they no longer have to leave their home districts in order to get a good job, or, as in the old days, a job of any kind. The men are on their way to this place, the wharf, where they're busy building the largest oil platform in the world. Formerly, there was nothing here but an unspoiled strip of coast. Now, there are 2,000 people working here, and this is where Kenny's school is. This is Mr. Teal, the principal of Kenny's school. We asked him why they had chosen this particular place for the training school, and this is what he told us.
There was a need for the local people to be trained in engineering skills required for this particular industry. Before the oil industry arrived in Scotland, the locals were mainly in agriculture and fishing and sheep farming and this sort of skill. And there was a great need for us to train our own local labour force for the yard, and this is why we set up the training here at the training school.
Well, lads, this morning we're going to talk about the single V butt. And then we're going out into the workshop to carry out this operation. Now, for this job,
with the help of drawings on the blackboard, Kenny's teacher shows the students the various stages of a job that they will then have to carry out in the workshop.
It's 30-degree bevel.
Why is it 30 degrees as opposed to 37.5?
Well, that's a good question. If you remember when we were talking about preps, the thicker the plate section gets, the greater the volume.
It's important that the boys really have understood what to do and how to do it, because they'll soon be doing it themselves in the workshop.
To keep the volume smaller, yeah? That's your answer to your question. Okay, clear?
From the classroom lesson to the lesson in the workshop. Here it's so noisy that you can't ask questions and get help. You have to remember what you learnt in the classroom. It's the North Sea oil that has given Kenny this chance of training for a job. In order to get at the oil in the North Sea, oil platforms are needed. And here, Kenny is learning how to use the apparatus and equipment needed to build these platforms.
Right, boys, we're going to do some instruction on this knot. We're going to do the reef knot and the bowline. Each knot has its own specific use, and you'll be instructed on that uses as we go along with the course. you get your ropes ready now. You try the reef knot. Now that's the other knot you were shown on the board there. That's used to tying two ropes equal size together. Left over right and right over left.
In order to hoist up material, tools and other things needed to build the rigs, ropes are often used, and it's absolutely essential that the knots don't slip or give way.
Try the opposite way this time.
If the building materials are too heavy to be hauled up on ropes, steel cables are used, and here Kenny is learning how to splice a cable. When Kenny leaves this school after 3 years of training, he will help to build a platform like this one. When this platform is finished, it will be towed out to an oil field in the North Sea and drilling for oil can begin. Then they'll start building the next platform. North Sea oil has to be transported ashore. It's transported through pipes like these, pipes that are joined together to form a long pipeline. The pipeline is laid along the bottom of the sea from the oil field to the place on the land where the oil is to be collected. The pipes, which are made of iron, will lie on the bottom of the sea for several years, and they're treated in a special way so that they don't rust. And this is done at this factory. The oil industry is changing much in the Scottish way of life, especially in the north of Scotland. For example, there aren't enough houses for all the people who've moved here to work in the oil industry, so new houses have to be built for them as quickly as possible. They are importing prefabricated houses that can be put up rapidly. It would take too long to build in stone in the old traditional way, and today only the foundations are made of stone. We started our journey 13 minutes ago. You saw pictures of beautiful, unspoiled Scottish countryside, and now you're looking at a community which is changing rapidly, and the changes have been very rapid. The first oil deposits were found here in 1969. In these few years, new industries have grown up here which have created other new industries. Is this Scotland's future? Oil that provides work for so many people. Oil that's drawing workers from other jobs. Oil that one of these days will dry up.